Hey guys, so this is What If Subaru from ReZero starting life in another world. Basically, what's a mutant, or if Subaru is a mutant. Now guys, basically, this is a what if I wanted to do since I just got finished, not finished, but I started to rewatch season 2 of Subaru, or ReZero, and I just want to say this anime is kind of fire, like honestly top tier, but I would have to say that I'm getting more into my anime type what if since I am making what if uh Katsuburu or Sato, I think that's his last name. The guy from the anime with Aqua in it was or found the Omnitrix. I'm doing that what if. Also doing what if Deku was had the Speed Force Part 3. And guys, next week I'm gonna be uploading all the 4 videos or 5 videos I said I would upload on my commentary. But after that, I'm just gonna be doing straight up anime what ifs for the next week. So let's just get into it, guys. Now we start our story off with episode 1, season 1 of ReZero. The end of the beginning and the beginning of the end. I think that's what it's called. I think that's what the episode 1 is called. Now basically, let's get into it. Now before we get into the episode, let me explain a little backstory about what would be Subaru's mutation, and basically about his parents, and pretty much how his normal world would be. Now in this universe, or in Subaru's world, in Subaru's world he was born into, mutants would be existing, meaning that in this universe, X-Men and mutations would be a thing. Basically, no other, outside source of heroes would be a thing, meaning that the Avengers, the Avengers, Young Avengers, all of them, all those other, superhero teams like Fantastic Four, all those others, they would not exist absolutely at all. They would just, pretty much the only main X-Men teams in the world would be the X-Men teams in the comics, like X-Force, I think Task Force, also, X-Men, obviously, and X-Force. I think I already said that, but yeah. So basically, in this world, it would take place in the same similar world as in the, what was it? The anime, what was it? In the X-Men anime TV show. Basically, it would take place in a universe very similar to X-Men. And basically, mutations being, not a normal thing, but being as normal as they were in the comics in the X-Men universe. And basically, mutations still being persecuted and whatever. And pretty much, Subaru's father would have had a mutation. And basically, Subaru's father having a slight mutation, that would be completely different from what was it? Deku's father's powers would be similar, but not, in this universe, Subaru's father would be the same person, but he would be an alternate version of Havoc, basically being an X-Men. And pretty much he would give up the role of being Havoc and pretty much fade in obscurity, marry Subaru's mother, and basically people would just forget about Havoc, and he would basically, over time, for some reason, his hair would turn black, and Subaru would be born with black hair instead of blonde hair, because Havoc had blonde hair. But yeah, so basically, pretty much, yeah, so basically, it's kind of, confusing, but I'm just gonna say it. Basically, Subaru's father is like an alternate version of Havoc in the anime world. And basically, his father just giving up being an X-Man since he doesn't want his family to be persecuted because, his wife is married to a mutant. Now, about the whole entire thing, Subaru's mother is actually a mutant as well, but she never told Subaru's father, because they both are keeping secrets that they're mutants to each other. Basically, them both knowing that, Subaru will most likely have a mutation, and he will automatically, straight up have a mutation since both of his parents have mutations. Now Subaru's mother's mutation would be a secret for now until season 2 of this what if is made. Basically, I don't know, part 16 will probably be in season 2, but let's just get into it. Now, I will be doing 2 episodes each, each part. Let's just get into it, guys. Enough talking. Now, we start our story off with Subaru at a convenience store, basically just getting some manga, just, mind his business. And as he's doing this, we see, he sees other people walking by, us, pretty much seeing him just go through his normal day. As he's, just, doing his normal thing in the convenience store the same way, and, the whole tire clips back and forth into other worlds and everything like that, him getting some ramen and stuff like that. And basically, we see that Subaru, buys it, and he's walking down the road. And basically, he's about to go home. Now, basically, as we see glimpses of the future about Subaru almost dying or whatever, and basically in those glimpses, we see Subaru's eyes glow red, and a laser beam shoot out. But basically, we don't get really big intake on that. As Subaru, out of nowhere, feels something weird happen, he's, well, over time, he's pulled into the other world. As he closes his eyes, he's transported into another plane of existence. Him opening his eyes and seeing that he's in a whole entire different world. And basically looking around, him being completely shocked. I mean, just completely shocked. Him being confused on where he is. He's seeing these demi-humans all around, seeing people with red and red and green hair that looks natural, and basically I'm just being confused on, how is he even here? Now he soon quickly realizes that he's not on Earth or not in Japan anymore. Him basically saying I'm in another world, and basically him, doing his whole entire, him assuming that, and he is right. So basically, we see Subaru walk around, and basically at first he actually thinks it's just a town with mutants in it, but he soon finds that this doesn't look like any type of modern town, and also it doesn't seem like anybody has mutations, and just looks like they just are what they are. So he just assumes, and he's right and correct, that this is a different world. We switch to pretty much a bandit or a thief running to building with some sort of trinket in her hand. As she's running, we basically see that she runs the building top. As she's doing this, she, pretty much jumps to carriage through a whole entire highway like type of area. As Subaru's walking around trying to look where he is, he stops and he feels a pain in his eyes. Basically him rubbing them and seeing that they're turning red. Now he rubs them a little bit more and the pain goes away and his eyes start to go back down. But as he's seeing a man almost get trampled by a carriage, he tries to stop it and thinking that he has some sort of power. As he tries to stop it, basically what would happen is his eyes will start to have a lot more pain. And basically Subaru looking down, and as he looks back up, a knight stepped in to save the person that was about to get trampled by the carriage. Subaru just got back up, basically him being confused on why his eyes are just, messing with him. Now basically we'll see pretty much, what was it? He would go to a merchant trying to, buy some food. Basically him pointing to a apple. Now basically as he tries to trade with the man or give him, Japan money or Japanese money, basically he soon realizes that it doesn't work here. Now basically as we do this, as we go around Subaru trying to find out, work or whatever, he goes into the ladies' restroom instead of the man's restroom. And basically him looking around, him going to demi-human bars, him being quickly taken out or pushed out. And as he was pushed out of the other bar, he would get pushed out and basically his eyes would start to mess up. Instead of him tripping, his eyes would mess up and he would fall into the pretty much pond. He would be in an alleyway trying to, dry out his jacket. And basically as he was talking about, this, he would stop, basically looking at his eyes. Now, during this whole entire event of him being in another world, it would cause a little bit of an adrenaline rush, causing his mutation to start to slowly, erupt or activate. Now, basically, as he would try to, contact his family, he would see that his phone was out of range and it wasn't working. He would look at the food he had in his bag before he was taken to this world, and he would basically try, just to get ready to eat it. Him still talking about why am I here and I can't even get a decent job. Basically him saying, this world's kind of confusing. As he's talking about this, we see 3 thugs go down an alleyway, basically about to mug this man. And basically, Subaru instantly knows that these guys are about to mug him. And basically, they try to mug him. They start to beat him around, and basically, they try to beat him around. And as we see this, the young girl, like the bandit or whatever, she sees this and pretty much doesn't really care and just waltz off, leaving Subaru behind. Subaru's confused and tells him, just to calm down. And basically, they don't really take, they're not really taking it. And Subaru is just, thinking about this, but he still is feeling that pain in his eyes over and over. He tries to punch the guys, and he does succeed, basically beating them up, most of them, all three of them. And as he's doing this, we see that, he beats them up pretty well, seeing that his hands still kind of, sore. But he would actually, in this canon, his hands wouldn't be that sore. It would still be sore, but they wouldn't be that sore since he would naturally be athletic, since his father would be an X-Man. And X-Men do go under vigorous training to make sure they don't die on the field. Now, basically, as Zuru's, pretty much, what was it, about to go up against the third guy, the, Thug's leader or the ringleader. Basically, he runs towards him, and he soon realizes the guy takes out two knives, and is straight up about to stab Subaru. As Subaru tries to beg the guy to stop, basically the guy starts to beat up Subaru. Now, basically, the other two guys get back up, and they start to jump Subaru. Now, as this is happening, Subaru's eyes start to glow red. Basically, as he can switch to the guys beating him up, and ominous music playing, basically kind of Goku type music playing, with his eyes glowing brighter and brighter. And basically, at this point, they're straight up glowing like, well, like iron, like red glowing metal. Basically, his eyes glowing bright red. And pretty much one of the guys would notice this, and a huge spark of energy would have blasted out Subaru's eyes, hitting the third shorter guy into the wall, pushing him into the building on the other side, knocking him out. Him looking around, him not being able to stop it, him taking all three of the guys out by just looking around, and all the guys would be knocked out senseless. And basically, Subaru, with his whole entire, basically eyes glowing bright red, he wouldn't be able to stop it, so he would just close his eyes. Now, as he was looking around, you see that he would close his eyes, or the three other guys, or the bigger guy and the more tall, the ringleader, would have gone back up, and they would have gone for Subaru. They would have started to jump him even more vigorously, about to kill him. So they saw that they thought he was using some sort of magic. And basically, as we see the Night Girl show up, or Zero, basically the half-elf, basically we see that she would show up and tell them to just leave him alone. And basically, as we see, she pretty much asks, where, or about, the whole entire bandit girl that walked past Subaru later on, and asked where she went. And basically, they say, she went that way, and she's about to leave, but she says, I cannot just stand here and let you, do this to them. And basically, she takes the three guys out, or the two guys, since the other third guy that was, hit the wall is knocked out cold. We see that the other two guys, get back up, and basically them, looking about to, take her on, but seeing that she about to use more magic, and pretty much they get, worn off, and pretty much Subaru, sees this, and basically looks at her. As his eyes start to go down, basically in this version, he would have some control over his eyes instead of, Cyclops not having control over his eyes. He would have control to stop them over time. But if he activated it, he would have to at least have his laser vision activated for at least 5 minutes. Now basically, we see Subaru get introduced to. And basically, she asks, who stole my insignia? Basically, Subaru not really knowing what even is the insignia. And basically, him just saying, to be frank with you, I do not know. Basically, she says, wait, it couldn't be. Basically, her saying that I really make a wrong turn, her thinking about, if she lost the woman or not. And basically, Subaru says, I'm hungry after, I'm angry after her before she gets too far. And basically, something like that, I don't really remember. Subaru tries to get up, and actually he is able to get up since he wasn't as badly beat as original. He still trips down though, but on his butt instead of his whole back, and collapses because he wasn't that badly beat, and also his laser vision activated. So basically, we see pretty much Subaru. Let me explain Subaru's mutation. It will be completely similar or completely the same as Cyclops' abilities, but it would give Subaru another type of physical ability. It would give him slight, I mean very slight, super, I mean like slim, I mean like extremely slim superhuman durability, about as durable enough to, normal durability people have that get cut and everything. And basically, with Subaru's near, like, very slim superhuman durability, he can take a few punches before he even starts to fall, or before he even starts to get bruises. And cuts only make, like, you know how you scratch somebody really hard and it only like breaks the first layer of skin and doesn't, bleed or whatever. It's basically a knife can cut Subaru, but it won't draw blood. But Subaru can still be stabbed or whatever. It's just a knife would be stopped halfway, only the knife going about 2 inches into Subaru's skin. If it was, stabbed, normally at the normal amount of strength somebody would stab you with. Now, basically, Subaru's superhuman durability would help him in small situations, but normally in big, actual fights, like normally like in canon, it wouldn't really help him that much, and it really wouldn't, help him in big situations. So it would be kind of a pointless type of extra ability. But yeah, also another factor is that he would be able to control his laser vision, unlike Cyclops, but his eyes would be really sensitive after each time he used his laser vision, meaning that he would later on he will overcome this slight factor, but basically his laser vision is about the same power as Cyclops, but even has more potential than Cyclops' abilities, making his laser vision Omega level. I mean, straight up, he can pull off insane amount of energy bursts out of his eyes, meaning that he has more of a bigger connection towards the energy or the universe of pure energy Cyclops draws his laser vision from through his eyes. Basically, him having a stronger connection to that universe, his laser vision being a lot more deadlier and a lot more havoc like, and also sometimes if he focuses enough, Subaru could possibly focus his laser vision in other parts of his body, but he would have to focus a lot. He would have to put a lot of willpower. So he would rarely ever use or ever focus his laser vision into other parts of his body, because his eyes would be the easiest and most, the easiest way to shoot out his power. And basically, since his eyes or his laser vision will be a lot more stronger than Cyclops' abilities, and Cyclops has pulled off a bunch of strength feats. Basically, his laser vision will be as strong as Cyclops' laser vision with when he was forged or fused with the Phoenix Force plus 10. And basically, his laser vision being OP at its fullest peak, but for now, it'll be like base strength, about the same strength as Cyclops doing the X-Men Evolutions TV show or X-Men comics, like the first couple years of Cyclops being X-Men until, the whole entire X-Men, I think. Basically, you just have the base strength of Cyclops' laser vision, but later on in the series, or later on in this What If, his laser vision would get stronger over time and more OP. But he would still have that, limitation, but it would go away as well. So basically, eventually he'll be pretty OP, but he wouldn't have really any big physical overpower. It's just that his laser vision would give him an edge in the fight if he used it correctly or accurately. And also on top of that, his laser vision would still be red, yeah. And basically, yeah, so also he would be able to control it. I think I said that. So yeah, enough talk about his power. I think you already know. It's basically just like Cyclops' powers, but just a lot more stronger. But for now, it's about the same power as Cyclops. And basically, we see pretty much, well, he acquaints himself with pretty much the, girl. And basically, the girl showed up after Subaru's eyes went back down, or his laser vision went down. As Subaru was looking at the girl talk, basically, he kind of felt, mesmerized. Now, as he wakes up a couple minutes later, since he did still pass out, you see that he finds himself pretty much on the lap of the cat or Puck. And basically, Puck being kind of a human type size. And basically, Subaru being kind of confused. Now we get switched to pretty much the princess. I'm going to bring up pronouns in here as princess or elf girl. And basically, the princess pretty much introduces herself, and pretty much as she pretty much asks, pretty much by the saying again, basically saying that, well, healing your wounds and pretty much helping you wasn't really for her, it wasn't really for your benefit, it was for her to get information. But basically, she would still talk the same way, her giving off a little bit of vibes that she kind of cares for pretty much Subaru. So basically, as original and as the same, he still does heroically trying to, well, pretty much aid the girl into finding her insignia, trying to help her. And pretty much the rest of the episode goes somewhere the same. Basically, Subaru, pretty much saying that I'll help you find your insignia. Basically, him giving his help to her. Now, basically, as he's still trying to figure out, or he's self-consciously still thinking about the whole tire, how why his eyes are doing this. Now he has a pretty good idea. He probably has some sort of magical ability, but he normally thinks it through and automatically thinks that he has some sort of mutation probably, because Subaru did get a little bit, or as he was a child, he was pretty much, what was it? As he was a child, he was basically told about mutants and about a hero named Havoc or whatever. Now, as we see this happening, basically Subaru sees this and pretty much, they go on a little bit of a montage and try to find out where that girl is. And basically, they look around over and over trying to figure out, where the girl is that has, princess's insignia. But we see that they don't really get anywhere. And basically, as Subaru's looking around, he pretty much, is kind of distraught, and basically his eyes glowing red again. Now he rubs his eyes and he focuses, and his eyes go back down. Now, as we see this happen, the princess notices and says, "What's wrong?" Now, basically, Subaru says, I think, no, it's okay. It's not really interesting. It doesn't matter." Basically, him just scoffing it off. Now, as he, has a little bit of eternal thoughts, him thinking about how is he a mutant, because Subaru does not know that his father or his mother are mutants, and he doesn't know he doesn't know about his uncle, his uncle being Cyclops or whatever. Now, basically, we pretty much see Subaru, knows about his laser vision coming out of his eyes are very similar to Cyclops' abilities. Him pretty much thinking that he's related to him. Basically, he puts two of you together because as a child, he always saw a little bit of a similarity between the news articles and papers of Havoc on, the news, and a similarity between his father. It was just a little bit of a change between age and everything, and especially the hair. But he put the two together, and he automatically knew, or put the two together, and pretty much, well, came to the conclusion that Havoc is his father. Because his father looked exactly like Havoc, it was just the whole entire age gap of him looking older. Just the whole entire age gap of him looking older and everything. And also about the different colored hair or whatever. And basically, as we see this happen, Subaru goes on trying to, push these new thoughts down. Basically, him trying to help the princess again. Trying to become more, more friendlier. Basically, him trying to become friends. Now, as they, talk, basically, she pretty much looks at Subaru's hands, seeing that his hands don't look very labor-like at all. Like, Subaru's never done anything, hasn't really done any physical labor through his whole life. Basically, him saying, it's, basically him saying the same thing about how he hasn't really done that much physical caliber through his life. Because since, pretty much, Subaru was never really, he was athletic, yeah, just what was it naturally, but he never really, worked out or whatever. And basically, as you see this happen, pretty much Subaru sees that the princess sees a girl crying in a corner, a green haired girl, basically trying to, tell her or trying to ask her, where are your parents at? As they do on this whole entire side quest, they basically send the girl to her, pretty much, what was it, her dad. And pretty much, the dad, or sends the girl to pretty much the mother, and the mother, I think, is the merchant's wife. And basically, we get switched to pretty much them on a bridge, them talking. And basically, they would be talking the same. From that point in the episode, not really going farther than original. Now, as we see the episode progress, basically the episode goes somewhere really the same, but as we see this happening, we pretty much see Subaru, be talking and everything like that. And basically, as he's talking, or whatever. He pretty much talks and but basically, as we see, pretty much Subaru, before he, does whatever, before the episode goes on, pretty much the princess says we gotta further go on her search. Him saying, we have no plan, or just meaningless, pretty much, well, journey or look around the castle, or not the castle, the capital. Now, basically, so as Suru asks, where did her, insignia get stolen, he goes back to the merchant, basically saying to the merchant about how she said it was stolen right around here at your place. Basically, him saying, I'm pretty sure Kid didn't lose or get her insignia stolen by me, or by anybody at my store, or at my place. And basically, we pretty much see that they try to, ask him for something, but basically, we see that Subaru tries to get, pretty much isn't actually scared of the merchant, but basically, as the merchant realizes that her daughter was saved or was helped by the two, pretty much people, and pretty much he, gives him a little bit of a favor. And basically, him giving them a little bit of a tip and also giving the girl, a flower or whatever. But basically, as we see, they get a lead from the store clerk. And basically, you see that they find themselves in kind of a, neighborhood of sorts or a village. And basically, we see that Puck, shortly about to go to sleep, since we do get that little backstory about Puck and about how he's a familiar or something, and that he has to rest for like an hour, a couple hours a day or something, and we has to go in during nighttime. As Puck, goes to sleep, we see that Zero and Ri, I think her name was, or pretty much the princess and Subaru, Subaru and the princess go on, and pretty much they eventually find themselves at a dock area where, glowing lights start to appear. And basically, Subaru seeing that the princess is doing some sort of magic. Now, as, night comes, as night goes, or as night comes, basically, it gets darker and darker, and eventually they run into some sort of old man. The old man gives them a little bit of another lead, and basically, pretty much as it gets darker, Subaru takes out a lantern, and pretty much they go to a bar area. As they get inside the bar area, they see that it's some sort of weapons area, or bar slash pretty much items thing. And basically, seeing some Easter eggs, as in the shield, similar to the shield hero in the background, and also a couple other things. Now, basically, we see that while Subaru is looking around, and as he walks around, he steps in blood. As he looks down in the blood, the puddle of blood, he sees that it's a dead body, or a dead old man on the ground. As he backs up in shock, he sees the woman that did this. And basically, what was it? There inside the building. Him looking at the dead man's body, him being completely stunned in fear. As Subaru looks around, pretty much he sees the woman kick him down to the ground, and as this happens, Subaru starts to look around. And basically, he starts to look around more since he kind of got injured. But when he got stabbed, it did hurt him, and he was still bleeding the same way, but the blood started to stop a little bit quicker with a little bit of his enhanced, durability. And basically, we see that Subaru still coughs up blood, him, passing out, and we see that Princess steps in, basically looking around, trying to figure out what's happening. As Subaru is dying, his eyes start to glow bright, and basically him, with the adrenaline in his veins, going full-on bloodlust. And as he sees this princess get killed in front of him, and as he's dying, we see that Subaru's eyes start to glow brighter and brighter, and rage starts to fill his body up. He gets up with all of his strength, him looking at the person that did this, him not getting a single glimpse of that person, him just seeing the outline, and him shooting a huge, bright light of energy towards the person's body, him hitting the person through the chest. As this happens, we see that he uses most of all his strength, and he passes out and dies. But as he does this, he falls, where his hand falls on top of the princess's hand, and he's still sent back too well his doesn't do well when he started. Or back to the merchant. And basically him being confused. Now as he looks around and he suddenly realizes that something weird's happening. That the day has repeated itself. And he realizes this way more quicker since he is the son of Cyclops. And Cyclops is one of the smartest X-Men. But basically, he's the nephew. Basically, as he looks at his stomach, seeing that the cuts and the bruises are all gone, he starts to walk around. Basically, him trying to find out what's happening. As he walks through the same alleyway, the three thugs start to get him. But in this canon, Subaru actually uses the laser vision since he doesn't know how to control it. He doesn't know how to control it or activate it for now, since he was able to activate it last time. He shoots all the guys down to the ground, knocking them out cold. And as this happens, we see that Subaru takes them out pretty quickly. And as these guys get taken out, and just straight up folded in like less than a minute since Subaru's laser vision, we see that Subaru goes on to basically go to the same cabin area or same bar area, trying to get in, try to figure out why this place is here, or what happened. And basically, as he gets into the building, he sees the same old man but alive. And basically, the old man is like a bartender place slash armory. And basically, as he talks to the old man, the conversation goes similarly the same. Basically, the episode going the same type of track, and basically as they're talking, we see that the girl that stole, the insignia in the first place shows up. Before that, Subaru still tries to trade his Japanese food he took from the other world, basically, to the man. The man tries it and sees that it's pretty good. Now, basically, as we see that, pretty much the Bandit Girl shows up. Basically, Subaru asks her why'd you take the insignia. As he tries to get it or buy it, and basically we see that they get interrupted when pretty much a woman steps into the bar. Now, basically, as this woman steps inside the building, we see that stuff starts to go downhill fast, or starts to go downhill pretty quickly. And I just want to say, the girl in episode 1 near the end, oh my gosh, bro. Why the bad ones gotta be the baddies, bro? It makes no sense. Basically, you pretty much see the woman try to get the insignia back. Basically, as Subaru senses something, he sees the outlet of the woman, but he just shrugs it off, seeing that the woman looks pretty kind and actually really, really hot, if you could say that. Basically, pretty much, the woman introducing herself. And pretty much as the woman introduces herself, she talks to them, and pretty much we see that Subaru, pretty much, and the rest of the, pretty much, what was it? The rest of them are starting to talk, about the whole entire, trading for the, insignia, and Subaru tries to trade his phone. Now, as this trading has happened, the woman, says, I'm getting that insignia no matter what. Her straight up about to kill them, as she takes out a huge type of axle blade. As this happens, the old man tries to hit the woman, but the old man, quickly gets marked on the spot. Right after the whole entire, trying to fight her, the woman is going up against the old man, basically dodging hit after hit, and pretty much as the old man gets, a little bit more angrier, pretty much the fight starts to drag out. And basically, Subaru tries to get a clear shot. And basically, they're not noticing that Subaru's eyes were glowing up like they were charging. Now they see the woman cut off the old man's arm and pretty much take him out. We see that pretty much the man starts to fall down after blood loss. And pretty much Subaru shoots a laser blast at the woman, basically hitting her upside the head. Before that, the woman still killed the old man like in canon the second time. And pretty much, she was blasted by her being intrigued about Subaru's power. Now basically, Subaru looked at her and pretty much said, is that all you got? And basically, he was trying to shoot more bolts of energy towards her, Cyclops style. Him having his two fingers next to his eyes, basically shooting laser blasts over and over towards the woman. And as the woman dodged her blade and was about to go up against the girl. The girl started to look, angrier and try to go up against the woman. As the girl tried to go up against the woman, like super speed style, trying to take her on, we see that she goes for a cut towards the woman. The woman dodges it like Goku style and basically cuts the woman or cuts the girl in two and pretty much kills her on the spot. Now basically as Subaru sees this, he pretty much goes beast mode and shoots a huge like god tier blast of energy out of his eyes, making a huge hole. But the woman was able to dodge it halfway, having a burn mark on her arm, or like a little bit of her flesh pretty much burnt off or hit off. Basically, because I know, Cyclops' beams are kinetic energy, but it can be switched for kinetic energy to heat vision for Subaru, though. Now, as Subaru goes beast mode, shooting laser vision back and forth, we see that Subaru goes for a punch, and pretty much he gets kicked back, but he gets back up, shooting more laser vision towards her. She dodges more and more, but eventually she throws a knife right towards Subaru's head, killing him. And the time resets again. Basically, Subaru resetting the day and him seeing everything play out and him coming back and everything resetting. And as you know, the woman, he gets reset right with the merchant and he immediately grabs his stuff and just walks away from the merchant. As he walks away, he goes into the alleyway, or as he sits down and the merchant tries to sell him fruit, he recognizes the princess and pretty much goes after her. As he goes after the princess, pretty much he tries to, talk to her, but she pretty much isn't taking it and doesn't really care. And basically, pretty much Subaru, that episode. Episode 1 is left off there, and we can switch to episode 2, guys. We see pretty much Subaru is making a scene between the princess and him. And basically, like, a bunch of people are, like, gathered around watching this whole entire thing, trying to figure out what's about to go down. And basically, she, tells Subaru, why don't you call me by the Witch of Envy? And basically, what would happen here is basically, and pretty much, she says, why don't you call me by the Witch of Envy, or the name of the Witch of Envy? And basically, he says, because you told me that. Basically, her saying, I do not remember saying no such thing. I don't even remember you. Don't even know who you are. Her having a glint in her eyes in anger. And basically, as, she says, that's a very, dangerous world, blah, blah, blah. Basically, pretty much, saying that, Subaru messed up. And pretty much other people say, yeah, you crossed a line there, buddy. Basically, Subaru was saying to shut up to the two guys that were talking. As they start to say, who you're saying to shut up, basically, Subaru eyes start to glow towards him, telling them to back up. They instantly just run away. Or they, back up and just sprint off. The rest of the crowd not really knowing why they ran off. Now basically as Subaru's eyes go back down, we see that Subaru or the princess walk off, pretty much Subaru realizes or sees Felt run off. Basically his eyes going red, him shooting a laser beam at Felt trying to stop her. But as that happens, we pretty much see that basically as, her trinket still gets stolen, but Felt is kind of injured, she sprints off. Basically, her not really, accusing Subaru of being, a distraction, since he did see Subaru use some sort of magic or something to try to take down or stop Felt or the girl, from her perspective. And basically, Subaru tells her to stop, but she sprints after the girl, trying to get to her. And as we get hit with that intro, it gets switched off from the intro, and we get introduced to pretty much them running down the alleyway, and pretty much Subaru runs to the three thugs, and just shoots a laser beam at them, knocking all three of them out at once. He just runs past them, and basically, he doesn't get reset, but as he's running off, we pretty much see, as he runs off, he pretty much turns a corner, and out of nowhere, it's some sort of construction going on, and basically he trips to the water and cracks his head on the bottom of the pond, or the bottom of the river, and dies that way. Just a really weird way. And he gets reset the same way at the, pretty much, the guy's barn or bin. And basically he just walks off from the guy, and basically just doesn't really care, doesn't really talk to him at all. And as he's walking, he basically looks at his wallet and his phone and his ramen stuff, and looks at his, fit, everything, Basically, him looking at himself, seeing that all the cuts and bruises that he had, but when he died, are just gone. Him looking at his head, rubbing his forehead, seeing that it was gone as well, or the crack was gone. And as he starts to walk around or starts to look around, he pretty much slowly realizes that, things are going weird. Basically, we see that Subaru tries to pawn his stuff, and basically he starts to think more vividly and thinks the same way as in Canon. Now, so Subaru, thinks out about his mutation, about how he has the power of Cyclops and he can control it. Plus, on top of that, he does have a little limitations, and his eyes are pretty sensitive a couple minutes after he uses his laser vision. Pretty much, when I mean sensitive, I mean like they're kind of sensitive to sunlight. Basically, what I'm saying here is pretty much Subaru goes into his pocket and realizes that he did have a pair of shades on him for some reason. He puts them on, and basically his shades have like a red tint on them. And basically, he puts them on and says, these are pretty good. Now, basically, he starts to think about, his powers and about his resetting or his respawn power now. Since he does have the mutation and also the respawn power. And basically, he starts to think about, his plan. And basically, as he thinks about this, he pretty much sees Subaru, tries to pawn his stuff in. And as we see Subaru pretty much have a little bit of flashbacks about the whole entire situation, we pretty much see that he has flashbacks of bad memories, him remembering the pain that he had before, him remembering everything, and him trying to figure out a perfect plan to stop it from happening, to pretty much, have the best outcome of the situation. And as we see that the episode goes on, we pretty much see that Subaru goes down the alleyway, eventually does come across pretty much the princess, talks to her, and basically as you see the guys, as Subaru, pretty much sees the guys about to beat him, we see that a knight shows up, pretty much saving Subaru. Now basically, Subaru still has his shades on, and pretty much we see that the knight pretty much goes, or pretty much scares off the thugs. And basically, we see that Subaru looks at, the knight, and pretty much kind of thanks him. And basically, he pretty much, scoffs or whatever. And pretty much was it, Subaru doesn't really have that much respect for the knight, since in this version, Subaru pretty much, knows he kind of maybe is the main character, and also he has laser vision, and he also has mutation. So I'm pretty sure Subaru knows that he most likely has the most OP-ness in this universe, but he just scoffs it off. Basically, he walks off from the night after the same conversation. Basically, the conversation and the talk go the same. And as he gets the information, Subaru goes back to the village area that happened, the first time he died. Basically, him going into the base, or into the place, him coming across the woman, and pretty much him acting cool and all. Him just trying to play it off as he doesn't know the woman is. Basically, his shades hiding his expression behind his eyes. And basically, we see that a woman looks at him and also asks, what are the things on your face? Basically, him saying, something I made. Him just walking away from the woman. And now as the woman senses something about Subaru, they pretty much see that Subaru just, looks at the woman and pretty much just, walks off. Or the woman walks off away from Subaru after a little bit of, taunting with Subaru. And basically, as the woman, walks away from Subaru's kind of shocked and also kind of, distraught and weirded out that the woman actually kind of maybe flirted with him. And basically, she just walks off back to the barn area, or the pretty much the same type of area, and looks around, noticing that this is probably Felt's place. Him looking around an old shack area where Felt lives. And basically, Felt, finds him and accuses him taking out a blade. And pretty much Subaru doesn't really find the blade as, a weapon at all. The girl starts to slash it towards Subaru, but Subaru dodges all of them, slick as Spider-Man. Basically, him seeing that the woman's blade gets stuck. Now, as they're fighting and, scrambling, basically Subaru throws a table at her, and pretty much as the fight goes on and on, we see Subaru grabs a blade out of the woman's hand and pretty much drop kicks her into the ground as he tells her to stop. And basically, he, pretty much tries to tell her the situation. And pretty much she, is kind of confused, but she goes on with the whole entire, shindig. And basically, we're saying, got any money? Got anything you can trade for? Basically, as Subaru trades in his phone, saying that it's some sort of, magic painting device or whatever, him using the camera filter on it. And basically, he, gives it to the other woman, or gives it to her as like a pawn or everything, or like a pawn thing. As she takes him to pretty much the bartender person after they still talk the same way, pretty much you see that, they start to, trade or whatever, and he trades, getting the insignia back. Basically, he doesn't trade. Basically, he tries to trade on his phone. As pretty much we see the episode go exactly the same as the original, and basically, me, if the episode doesn't change from the main character, or if it doesn't change, it's not gonna happen. Now, basically, as he hears a knock at the door, basically Subaru tells her not to open it. But as she opens it, Subaru thinks her to be the woman, but it's actually, well, the princess. The princess introduces herself, asking for her insignia. And basically, we see that pretty much Subaru sees this, and pretty much just sees that what was it? The woman, she uses magic against them, the princess, saying, where's my insignia? I want it back. Basically, Subaru not really finding this whole entire magic actually intimidating, since he does have, he knows he is pretty powerful since he does have his mutation. And basically, we see that Subaru looks around, and pretty much as we see Subaru take off his shades, him knowing that he doesn't want to mess up his shades and shoot, laser beams through them, he pretty much, they all look around, and pretty much soon, the woman from earlier, the woman that killed Subaru at the beginning, basically walks into the building. Basically, him seeing the knife go towards the princess, and a barrier spell saves her. But basically, the woman is about to kill her. And basically, as we see this happening, for the episode to go a little bit shorter, Subaru shoots a laser beam at her, but she dodges it. As the fight goes on, basically, Puck and the princess going up against the woman, shooting more, blasts of magic towards her and attacks. Subaru also shooting laser beams at her as well. She starts to get overpowered actually in this version, and she does get stuck. Actually gets stuck by some sort of, diamond magic from the princess. Basically, we see that Subaru shoots a laser beam right towards her alongside the same attack that the princess shot towards her. As she gets out of the way right in time, we pretty much see that, well, she goes up against the two, basically, slightly winning, but she's starting to get overpowered even more since, Subaru is on their side, or Subaru is shooting laser beams at her. And basically, as Subaru is doing this, we pretty much see that Subaru has flashbacks of him almost dying from her, and pretty much he shoots a laser beam at her, and pretty much grabs her pretty much from the shoulders and pushes her down to the ground, him having a laser beam right in front of her face. As she tries to slice or cut Subaru, she does cut Subaru, but it only leaves like a scrape, like how, you scratch yourself really hard, it doesn't really break the skin, but it leaves that little ash or whatever. And basically, he dodged it out of the way, and basically she's confused on why I didn't cut him. And basically, Subaru grabs, Subaru grabs a axe that was on the wall and chucks it, like, straight up, throwing knife style, basically towards the woman. The woman dodges it, and pretty much Subaru goes up against the woman even more. Now, as he's doing this, he pretty much starts to go up against her, and pretty much as he's fighting her with a weapon or a blunt object, we pretty much see that he gets cornered, but at one final blast of energy, after the princess's, her attack is weakless, basically he shoots one last power, and pretty much says, it's gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. Him shooting all of his focus, every last bit of his energy out of his eyes, blasting the woman out of the building, and, well, let's just say killing her. I mean, evaporating her. And as the night shows up, he sees that she's already gone, she's dead, and pretty much Subaru saved the day. And basically, as this happens, we see that Subaru passes out because of the overuse of power he used, because he does take a lot of, because, like, Subaru, like, unleashed like a whole like 50% of the universe was it Cyclops and his powers are connected to. He about used enough power, enough like precise power from the universe to overpower a nuclear bomb, basically disintegrating every last molecule of the woman, destroying her completely. After she's completely just disintegrated and every part of her body is gone, we pretty much see that, well, Subaru, in this version, since the prince wouldn't, fight, his blade wouldn't get disintegrated off or disintegrated away. And pretty much we see that Subaru is passed out. As Subaru is passed out, they try to help him up, and pretty much as we do that whole entire shindig, and basically the building is still kind of, destroyed, since, Subaru did still destroy the whole building with his whole entire big blast attack. Basically, we see that pretty much, well, the episode goes similarly the same, and pretty much I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. The part 2 will be about episode 3 and 4, and basically pretty much how, pretty much the princess would see, the whole entire Subaru magic thing. Or basically for now, people would just think Subaru has some sort of magic ability with his eyes or something. And that's how Subaru wouldn't want it to be, since he doesn't want to explain the whole entire mutation thing or whatever. And he doesn't want to give away the whole entire thing about him being from a different world or whatever. And basically, I'm gonna leave it up here, guys. So I know this episode was kind of rushed because this was not scripted at all, and I kind of got off, focus. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And as always, guys, have a blessed day.